As the 23 BC year drew to a close, the theatre of Roman politics saw Caesar Augustus finally exit the consulship, resigning from the office after dominating the governmental stage for more than a decade. As Augustus prepared to depart the city for his military tour of the eastern provinces and a much-publicized meeting with the king of Parthia at the Euphrates River, Rome was dropped into the hands of his political opposition. Lucius Cestius Albanianus and Gnaeus Calpurnius Piso, members of the conservative faction which had supported Brutus and Cassius during the civil wars, now completed their 23 BC consular terms. As 22 BC began, the new consuls took office. The first new consul, Marcus Claudius Marcellus Aesoninus, was of the same illustrious branch of the Claudian family as Augustus's late nephew. Belonging to the senatorial aristocracy, Marcellus Aesoninus was married to Asiniia, the daughter of Gaius Asinius Pollio, one of Marcus Antonius's most loyal generals, who had been pardoned by Augustus following Antonius's death. The second new consul was Lucius Arruntius, an equite man whose considerable wealth had caused his family to be targeted for proscription by the second triumvirate. Arming his clientele, as well as his slaves, Arruntius had escaped proscription, like so many others, by fighting his way out of Italy and fleeing to Sextus Pompeius in Sicily. But following the Pact of Misenum and the general amnesty which accompanied the end of the proscriptions, Lucius Arruntius returned to Rome, ultimately pardoned by Caesar Augustus. There were also new appointments to the censorship. Lucius Munatius Plancus, the general who had employed the last will and testament of Marcus Antonius as a political prop to switch his allegiance to the camp of Caesar, assumed the 5-year term as censor alongside Paulus Aemilius Lepidus. Paulus was the nephew of Rome's Pontifex Maximus and former triumvir Marcus Aemilius Lepidus. For having supported Cicero's condemnation of the triumvirate, Paulus Aemilius Lepidus's father was named on the very first list of the proscribed that was posted in the Forum Romanum. But, according to the historian Cassius Dio, his father escaped execution through the discreet protection of his brother, who helped to hide him from his fellow triumvirs. Shades of tyranny aside, the Roman people had, in fact, become so accustomed to the ongoing consulships of Caesar Augustus that they viewed his stepping down as head of the state as a bad portent for Rome, as evidenced by nature itself. The plague of 23 BC continued into the 22 BC year, claiming still more lives. Overall health and sanitation within the city was also negatively impacted when the Tiber River rose so high that the streets of Rome became flooded. As thunderstorms raged and lightning struck Rome's buildings, the food supply was threatened due to intermittent interruptions in Rome's incoming grain shipments throughout the 23 BC year. With so much death from plague, weather-related disasters, and an increasing fear of starvation, the Roman people reacted. During a Senate meeting which took place early in 22 BC, the Roman people, outraged on behalf of the gods, rushed the Senate house, whereupon the angry citizens blockaded the conscript fathers within the building. Unless the senators immediately offered Caesar Augustus the dictatorship so that he might appease the gods and continue to lead Rome towards peace and prosperity, they would set the Senate house ablaze and allow the trapped senators to burn alive. The frightened senators acquiesced to the demands of the mob, and Caesar Augustus was promised the dictatorship by the Roman Senate. Taking 24 fasces, the number of fasces carried by a dictator's lictors, the people then marched to the home of Caesar Augustus, who had not yet left the city. There they offered the princeps civitatis the fasces, along with the dictatorship. But Caesar Augustus did not want to be dictator. Rending his tunic and baring his breast before the gathered crowd, Caesar adamantly refused the dictatorship, indicating he would rather have a sword plunged into his chest than to so offend the gods by reinstating an office which the Senate itself, under the leadership of Marcus Antonius, had agreed to dismantle. Although Caesar Augustus made a great show of refusing to accept the dictatorship, he did agree to undertake the resolution of Rome's incoming grain shortages. His stepson Tiberius, in conjunction with his 23 BC quaestorship, had been in charge of the logistics of incoming grain and its distribution, which had faltered. But as soon as Augustus took control of the duties of the Cura Annonae, he permanently appointed oversight of the city's grain to 2 ex-praetors. Within mere days, ships filled with grain suddenly entered Rome's ports. Whether the disruption of Rome's incoming grain supply was the result of negligence on the part of Tiberius, or was a manufactured crisis designed by Augustus Caesar to renew his populist support with the Roman people, remains unanswered. However, by the time the Princeps Civitatus left for Sicily, the food insecurities of the Roman citizenry had been fully addressed, and once again Caesar's popularity skyrocketed. But by July of the 22 BC year, there was trouble in Rome. Political factions had coalesced, and the Forum Romanum had again erupted in rioting. The controversy surrounded the 21 BC year's consular elections. Elected to the consulship that year was Marcus Lollius. Lollius had been a legate of Marcus Junius Brutus, and after the battles of Philippi, he had become a victim of the proscriptions. Taking on the identity of a slave, Lollius then sold himself to a close friend, Quintus Aemilius Lepidus, who sought to protect him. But the deception was uncovered. Quintus Lepidus then went to Marcus Vipsanius Agrippa and begged him to intercede on Lollius's behalf. Agrippa obliged, and Lollius's name was removed from the proscription lists. Appreciating their kind deed, Lollius then gave his loyalty to Agrippa and Caesar Augustus, supporting them against Marcus Antonius. Quintus Lepidus, however, fought for Antonius at the Battle of Actium, where he was captured. Marcus Lollius then returned the favor by interceding on Quintus Lepidus's behalf before Caesar Augustus. The second consular seat had been reserved for Caesar Augustus, who sent word from Sicily that he would not claim the consulship, but rather the office should be opened up and filled in the traditional manner. 2 men vied for this last available consular seat, the same Quintus Aemilius Lepidus who had been captured at Actium, and Lucius Junius Silanus, another whose family had first supported Brutus and Cassius, and then later fought for Antonius at the Battle of Actium. The rivalry between Quintus Aemilius Lepidus and Lucius Junius Silanus for Rome's second consular office was so vicious that several violent episodes broke out in the Forum Romanum, leaving many injured and bloodied. Both candidates then journeyed to Sicily to meet with Augustus. There, they beseeched him to return to Rome and resolve the matter. But Augustus refused. Although, in the end, the second consular office was awarded to Quintus Aemilius Lepidus, the absence of Caesar Augustus at the helm of government only served to illustrate just how quickly rivalries could translate into thuggery. And Caesar had only been gone 6 months. By 21 BC, with skirmishes between various political groups now a fact of life, Marcus Vipsanius Agrippa divorced his wife, Claudia Marcella, the daughter of Octavia, and married Julia, the daughter of Caesar, whose official mourning period for her late husband had concluded. Now, Marcus Agrippa was not only Caesar's son-in-law, but he officially became the second most powerful man in Rome. With Augustus and Agrippa now united in a familial bond, the entirety of Rome's legions was now devoted to Augustus. At last, Caesar Augustus felt confident in leaving Rome and heading east. As he left Sicily, sailing for Anatolia, the Princeps Civitatus was content. No matter how deep the growing political divide within Rome's internal government, Caesar Augustus could always return at the head of his legions and, once again, save Rome from herself.